Welcome to the Adoption Side by Side podcast, because no one should have to walk the adoption journey alone. I'm Andrea.
And I'm Steph. We walk the journey together and would like to walk it with you if you'll have us. All right, well, welcome everybody to today's episode. This is actually our wrap-up episode for season 1. So my husband a couple months ago suggested that we do seasons, maybe take a break and then start up again, because podcasts do that. So Andrea and I talked about it and we decided that that sounded like a good idea. So this episode is airing June 9th. We are going to take a break for the summer and be back September 1st. So it's not really too long without us, but long enough to give us some breathing room to enjoy our summers. Andrea will hopefully won't have to edit too much throughout the summer months here. We'll still be on Instagram and the TikTok and all of that, but we're just going to take a break from airing episodes. So today we just wanted to share a little bit about what we thought over the last season. It changed our lives in many ways. It changed our hearts. The way we look at adoption, I think, in some ways has changed as well now. So we are just excited about all of that. And Andrea has an important question to ask me that's been killing me since she told me about it. So I'm going to let her ask it so that I can answer and I can find out the answer.
I shouldn't have prepped you at all. I should have just thrown this in here and never asked you hey, I'll think about this. Okay. So I asked Steph what episode she thinks were our 5 most popular. And she said, it's been torturing her. So
it has been so much so that I was even asking Alex about it. I was like, what do you think the top 5 were? And we kind of matched a little bit, but for the most part we didn't. So do you want to share how it goes, or do you want me to give my guesses first?
I think give your guesses first. Okay. And we'll see.
All right. So I think on my list here, I think our top most viewed I'm going to say Sarah's The Birth Mom Perspective. Just because I know back whenever it first came out, it was trending to be higher. I mean, we had her sharing it, so we had more avenues there. So I'm saying that was number 1. Number 2, so Alex again was like, well, your first one, Steph, because it was a new thing and people would listen to that. I just don't, I'm not sure I'm there yet. I'm going to go with the second most listened to was the home study one, because I feel like that's one that if somebody is looking to listen to something, home study is going to be something you're going to search. Okay, so I'm doing these right now. I just have my list here. I'm going to go fundraising number 3. I'm wrong. Her face is telling me I'm wrong.
I can't. Okay, I'm not looking at you anymore. Don't look for it at the monitor either.
Okay, I'm going to say our first episode was number 4, just because it has to be in the top 5 because it isn't new, but maybe nobody wanted to listen to it. And then I was told that just this morning, and we are recording this back in March.
Yeah, so we should say we're recording this in March because we record in advance. We batch record. So up to this point, we've aired through episode 15.
I just checked.
Yes. So we have, let's see, I believe we have 5 more episodes between this wrap up and that. We have.
Yes.
So editing Andrea will come in if any of those blow us out of the water, because there's the husband's episode, which I'm sure they expect to be very popular. So
I do. And with that, as most of you should know by this point, we have gone video. So that I think is going to change some of our numbers as well.
I agree. So editing Andrea will jump in if any of those knock these ones out of a position. But up until now, she's going with the first 15.
Okay. And so I'm saying the 2 that are tied currently today as of 10 o'clock a.m. Becky's first one, where she talks about being a parent and the growing through the years with her sons because they're now adults. And Bree's disrupted adoption episode. I'm saying those 2 are currently tied for 5th. So I gave 6 because we have a tie. So how far off am I?
Okay. You have 3 correct.
Oh, okay.
So you got a half right.
Okay.
So that's pretty good. Okay. And one of them you got the place right too.
Ooh.
So there you go.
All right.
Okay. So our top episode is our first episode.
Is it? So that's, and I should have gone with Alex. I should have gone with Alex.
Now, to be fair, I will say I probably added to that view count because I checked it like 5 million times, being worried about it airing. So there's a little room for. All right. But yes, I think he was right that new podcast and all of our friends and family were like jumping on and being like, let's check it out. So that's fair. Number 2 is Sarah's episode. It is episode 6, which was Sarah's journey. She's the one who did our birth mom perspective. Episodes 3 and 4, you were thinking about this before we started recording, is our personal stories.
See, and I said not our personal stories because I don't know, but I guess that does make sense. So I didn't even. Right. So number 5 then.
Okay.
Is this the one that I got right?
It is. So you were half right there.
Oh.
It's Bree's episode on adoptions. Okay. Yeah.
And then who?
Which is a newer episode. Bree's is pretty new. And it is Katie's episode.
That just came out on Tuesday. Came out.
So Katie's friends and family, great job.
Good job, Katie.
So Katie keeps getting views every day. You go, Katie.
All right.
Hey guys, editing Andrea here. I had promised to come on if before this episode aired, we had a different top 5 episodes with the most views, and we did have a few slight change-ups. So the new top 5 order is our introduction episode is still the one with the most views. Then Sarah's birth mother perspective is still number 2. After that, that's where things change up a little bit. Katie's episode, which was titled Trusting God When the Plan Changes, is now the 3rd most listened to episode. And then number 4 is Stephanie's story. And then the 5th most listened to episode, which just crossed in because they tried very hard to make that happen, is our first dad's perspective episode. So those are the slight change ups. And now back to our pre-recorded episode.
All right.
Something I think I have definitely seen looking at this, which I don't have them all written down here. I just had those top ones. But what you just said about the niche, this is a niche podcast. The episodes that I feel like have been consistently more popular are more of the perspective episodes. I think because it just sort of applies to, we want to hear people's stories. Whereas episodes that are very like technical,
like the process one.
Right. Those ones are not as high.
Interesting.
So I also think part of those ones, why they did so well was our guests shared on their social medias, which helped as well. Because like Sarah's episode, Bree's episode, and Katie's, they link to their family and friends. So we appreciate that. Right. And we appreciate all of our guests who have been on this season. I think we have been super lucky, super blessed to have so many people be willing to come on to talk from their personal stories and to talk from professional standpoints. And
all right. So Andrea, what was your favorite podcast moment from season 1? A serious moment or a funny one? Or if you have 2?
Let me start with serious or funny. What are you feeling first?
Go serious.
Okay, serious. I think serious was the first time seeing an episode actually air was really cool because we had been talking about it for like since June, July, and then we recorded and then released one in September. And that just felt really cool because I'm sure maybe our listeners figure this out. We've never done this before, so it was just cool to be able to see it come full circle. And when you pull it up on especially the Apple app, it looks very official, and I liked that. So that was cool.
With that, which platform do we have our most views on? Like, is there one platform that stands out from all the other ones?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think it depends truly on the episode. Like, for example, we just talked about Katie's episode being new, and almost all of those views came from YouTube.
Oh.
Where her count on, this is a technical thing, but Spotify keeps your tallies for Spotify, Apple, and Amazon together.
Right.
It does tell you how many are actually Spotify versus like it breaks it down.
Okay.
But the view count on there was lower than many episodes.
Okay.
Yet on YouTube, it was higher than many episodes. So I think it depends on the episode and maybe just
who shared
it. Sometimes people, when they've shared it, have linked it. Like Sarah did that. Sarah linked it to I think a specific one maybe. And so that one had more. So yeah, I'd definitely say it varies.
I would say if I link them, I'm linking them to the podcast app that I personally use. But I know my mom listens on Spotify.
Yes.
So that's interesting. Okay, so to kind of go along with that, I love the social media side of it, like seeing like we don't get a ton of interactions. So like if you're listening and you're on any of our social media, we love the interactions. But the first time we went viral with a reel. So like we went viral with the Veterans Day reel back in November that I did, being thankful for our soldiers and all that. That was amazing. One, because it showed that like people care about our veterans and like we're watching that, and that Instagram pushed it. But then, and it's funny because it's not one that I thought was going to go viral. I thought it was just going to sit there like the rest of them, but we did a reel, or I guess it was, I did it, where it was the difference between the home study prep for our caseworker, Kelly, to come, and then the post-placement prep. And I'm like scrubbing the toilet frantically, and I'm like, Kelly comes today. And then like the next one, I'm just sitting and I'm reading a book, and I'm like, hey, remember Kelly comes today? Low key, like we don't care. And it had like over 4,000 views. And so for me, that was like, wow, like that's so exciting. And just something that was like, even if we're not thinking that we're reaching people with like maybe the serious stuff, we reach them with something funny that maybe pulled people in for the serious stuff. So that was exciting for me because I do the social media side of it.
Sometimes you need humor in the middle of serious too. Like, because, we get stressed out in this process. Clearly, we're stressed out cleaning our toilets and scrubbing our door frames for a home study. So,
yes. Yes.
Did you have a favorite funny moment? Or you to the serious side?
So I'm not sure it's funny. I guess it's probably more serious. I really enjoyed the husband's episodes. It was just one time recording and we had to cut it into 2 episodes, but it was just to hear both of them answer questions that like I'm not sure I had ever heard like Alex talk about. And like I'm sure the same thing with you for Bryson. Like it was just hearing their side of it and like feeling their emotions through it all, and how like my easy-go-lucky husband, nothing fazed him. Like it was just whatever. But then and just like hearing him talk about that first time that he really connected with our son when we were out in Arizona. I'd forgotten about that. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe he had never told me about it. I'm not sure. It was just like a heartwarming moment. Like he had connected, but then he had this like, okay, she is in a different room and like doing stuff. If something happens, I am fully in charge of this little guy. And I do remember the first time I left him at home, I was like, are you gonna be okay? Like, and I panicked a little bit. They were fine, but just that part of it. So like, I'm not hearing the husband's side. And that's why I do think the husbands are going to kick everybody for the boot here for placings.
And they'll hold it over everyone else.
Oh my goodness, it will never hear.
They'll be like, you need us on the podcast.
Absolutely.
All the time, every episode. My funny moment, you tell me if you don't want me to have this in the podcast, but it was from the husband's day. My favorite funny moment was Alex trying to say infertility.
Oh my.
And he said infidelity instead. So we're sitting here, we're like, where are we going with this? And he's saying like people who struggle with infidelity. And we're like, wait, what is going on here?
And like he kept talking and went, wait a minute. That's not what I meant. And he had to like stop himself.
I don't know why. That one just made me really happy because
no, that was
funny. It was a good time. But it was really fun having our husbands.
It was.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, let's see. Okay. So what episode from season 1 would you say had the greatest personal impact on you?
I had to think about this one a lot because we've had a lot of good topics. We've had a lot of good guests. I think though, for me, listening to Bree's disrupted adoptions twice in a 9-month period, and how she and her husband Corey still like had so much faith in God that like nothing's gonna rock this. Okay, maybe she did need to step back. That's fair. Like you're not trusting God when you're stepping back. You're just protecting your heart at that point and saying, God, I need you to help me work through this. I'm still trusting you, but I need a break. And that, because I can be somebody who, not that I don't trust God, but that does worry and is anxious and all of that. That was like, okay, if they were able to walk through that and then losing her mom on top of all of it, like that was impactful for me. Like just Steph, remember, like God has always got you.
And even in those moments where it doesn't feel like it's going to work out in any way, like that moment of like complete devastation of two disrupted adoptions losing her mom, and then that's the moment she gets like the miracle. Like that's crazy, like how God works that way. So yeah, that was amazing.
How about you?
I think on the larger scale, I think our episodes that have talked a lot about birth moms have impacted me. Just because I mean, obviously it's not a perspective that I have walked through. So being able to hear from Sarah, being able to hear from Kathy and Haley talking about the moments they've had in the hospital with bio families. And then on a smaller, like zooming in scale, it was the episode where Becky was talking about parenting adoptees through the years and talking about, I mean, there was lots of stuff in that episode that was very, very good and has stuck with me. But talking about the mom guilt and did we feel like we had more mom guilt as adoptive moms? And I was like, yes, thank you for vocalizing that because that's something I thought was going on like in my head. I was being like hypersensitive to it almost or something. And just hearing her say that was a reminder that A, it's normal, like that's a normal feeling, an expectation maybe adoptive moms put on themselves, but also that it's just like any other mom, no matter how you become a mom, we all experience mom guilt and it's normal, but we need to give ourselves grace.
Yes, absolutely.
So I think those were mine.
All right.
Then what would you say was the most surprising or interesting thing you learned?
So surprising, and it's on like the learning side of adoption. When Becky said in her most recent episode where she's talking about the match process with us, that they require classes for like adoption for adopted families, and that it's surprising to her that some states don't require it for the home study. So like you do all this stuff for your home study, all the paperwork, the physical, the clearances, all this, but then at the end of it your state doesn't say, hey, we also need you to take X, Y, and Z for classes. Our state is not one of those, and that was surprising to me because adoption is such a learning process that from start to finish you're always learning. Like even though we have sons now, we're still learning. Yeah, we're learning how to navigate the waters of, as they get older, how do we share with them about the adoption and how much is too much and what's age appropriate and what's not age appropriate and what can they personally handle compared to what maybe somebody else has said their child was able to handle at that stage. So just all that. So it was very surprising to me that that's not part of the home study process. And I didn't think of that until Becky mentioned it.
Yeah, because we did all of our classes almost simultaneously with that. So
our consulting group.
So it didn't even cross my mind.
No.
And funny too, because I feel like some of the topics were discussed in our home study, but they were like questions asked, not, hey, like it was say, hey, are you willing to adopt a child of any race? Or do you want to specify? And you could say yes or no. So the topic's addressed, but there's not like, we're not in our state required to have education on it.
Right. Well, and then with that too, like it listed all of the races and you could check the boxes. So yeah, that just, I don't know. That was very surprising to me. Yeah. And another thing that was very surprising was that, our agency, Building Arizona Families, and we had to do it very quickly. Like we had like a 2-week window to get this class done. We had to do, and it wasn't something that anybody up till that point had required of us. An infant care class, like through the hospital, you know, like a prenatal class almost that we didn't have to do, that like people who are having a baby take because it's part of like their learning. But yeah, we should have had to take it. So like we sat in, it was 2 weeks. It was the Thursday, like a week before, and then like the Thursday, and he was born on Friday. So I was like, well, if he's born, we're doing this class while holding him in the hospital, because it was something that they required of us. And I was like, is it okay if this class isn't finished? And I explained, and they said, absolutely. Like our case moves so fast. So that was surprising too, that was something that's not included in
I've definitely, I've had that thought with education, just outside of like what states require, but like We did one because it was an optional one that came up during the time we are doing our classes. I think Journey advertised like, hey, this person is doing a class on infant care at home, specifically geared towards adoptees.
Right.
And so we did that. But I mean, again, we've joked about, I sat in the parking lot watching a video on a change diapers.
Right.
Like there wasn't anything like
no
required by our agency. Although I guess to be fair, we turned in that certificate. So maybe have we not?
Well, yeah,
it might have been
maybe,
but but it is very interesting. Like, hey, we've done the background checks. We're pretty safe human beings, but like, do we know how to care for a kid?
Do you know how to change a diaper? Do you know how to make a bottle? Do you know how to like soothe them when they're crying? And like, I know some of that's just parental instinct. But some of that is stuff that you can learn. You can learn how to put a diaper on the right way or the wrong way. You can learn how to make a bottle the right way or the wrong way.
We had trial and error with learning to make bottles, like the right temperature. Yeah, temperature was a struggle.
Bath water.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, just all that. And then like I can even say that like my sister-in-law who works in labor and delivery now, she has like stuff that she talks with parents. Grandma says it's like teaching, but it is like just going over stuff with them. That didn't happen with us in the hospital. Did it happen with you in the hospital? Like before you were discharged, the nurse went like over like some like care routine stuff with you?
Yes. In ours, they gave us a QR code and you scanned it. And there were 2 videos you were to watch before you left the hospital, and you had to sign that you watched them. They were one was on baby's first bath, when to do first bath, and one was on safe sleeping.
See, 2 things that are extremely important, but I don't, and I might be wrong, I don't remember having to do any of that. Like they gave us a packet of stuff, but I don't remember having to sign off that like I went through any of it.
Yeah.
And maybe it's because Building Arizona had like we had done the the prenatal class before we got there.
That could
be. We had talked about all of that stuff. But yeah, very interesting how it's just like agency to agency, hospital to hospital stuff's different.
It is.
All right. So what about you? What was surprising or interesting for you?
That was one I had written down as well, because that was surprising. I think and it kind of goes back to the greatest personal impact is some of the stuff we learned from birth moms' perspectives. When Becky in the match process was talking about how they talk with birth moms about how much contact they want with baby, some things like maybe breastfeeding or discourage because they create too much bonding. And that's a thing that logically makes sense to me, but on a heart level, it's hard to hear, to think about her going through that and having to decide, do I want to put myself through this bonding? Do I just not?
Right.
And I mean, from our perspective, I can't imagine having to make that decision and like be like, yes, some, don't even want to hold their baby, like see the baby and
deliver in that.
Yeah. And I don't know. It just, anytime I'm reminded of that side of adoption and learning like factually what happens is.
Yeah. The birth mother side is definitely a side that is maybe not talked about enough. Not shared enough, and is a heart-wrenching side that I think people forget about. And unfortunately, our society doesn't, and I don't know how I want to say it. Like I have the thoughts in my head, but like doesn't have the sympathy for the birth mom. And sympathy might not even be the right word, but like the empathy for them, like just that love for them that they need. Like this is the hardest and greatest decision they're ever going to make in their life. And almost all the time, it's because they know themselves that they are not able to parent, or it's not in the best interest for their child or them. So they are saying, I want what is best for my child. I'm going to make an adoption plan. And then they have to make that decision in the final days, moments, whatever you want to call them. Do I want to hold my baby? Do I not want to hold my baby? Do I want to see my baby? Do I not want to see my baby? Do I want to spend time with the adoptive family or not? And all that. And like, that's just something it's heart-wrenching.
So now we're going to share some topics that we have lined up for season 2. So, um, these are all with the caveat of more to come, but these are the ones we've kind of had in the works, been talking about, been communicating with some guests on. So, first, we're going to have an interview with a friend of mine that includes kind of the difference between previous generations and ours regarding attitudes towards adoption. And in her story has to do with finding an adoptee, finding their biological family. That's all we're going to say here because we don't want to spoil that story. It's a pretty cool one. So that's coming up.
Then another one, and it's not one that we had thought of previously, like on our list, but I'm sure it
kind of adjacent topic
would have been up eventually. Was we are going to have a guest on, Stephanie, not me, who parents an adoptee with special needs. And she found the process of adoption to be isolating at times, not because of her child's case, just because, and we felt it, except for the fact that we had each other, that it can feel isolating because it's not common and not everybody's going through it. And so she's going to be sharing how passionate she is about it and offering support and what she's trying to do to help the adoption community as well, to grow and show more support in that so that people don't feel alone.
We're also hoping to talk about transracial adoption. That's kind of a big topic, encompasses a lot of areas, but including things like how to celebrate an adoptee's race and culture while also creating a home that is full of unity and belonging, important both for maybe differences in how we look, but in adoptees in general.
Absolutely. And then this is one that we are both very excited about. It's one that we've been talking about for quite some time, but it took a little bit of planning on our end. It's going to be a panel discussion featuring guests from varied perspectives in the adoption world. So adoptive moms, caseworkers, a birth mom, hopefully adoptees, and just the adoption language and terminology and how everybody sees things from a different perspective and maybe how word choices affect each perspective differently as well.
We're going to talk about the post-placement paperwork because you think you're done once you have your adoption decree, but then surprise, there's a little more paperwork to do. So we're going to talk about what steps are needed to obtain your child's birth certificate, your social security number, and I think then you can finally give vent to your whole story because you've been teasing that one since the beginning because it was process.
Getting the birth certificate, yes. yes. And then with that one too, the ATIN number for filing taxes until you get the social security number. That's a big one that was stressful as well. There's a whole story with that, guys.
Trust me, she's got a good one.
it's big. Then we are going to discuss and hopefully have on a guest as well that's knowledgeable in this one, how to apply for the adoption credit and how that looks, like how it looks in the money coming back to you, but not in a way. And just like that. And that's one that I'm excited for because even though we've done it, I'm still like, where's all that money sitting? Like, how does that work? So that one will be good.
We're going to have an interview with Donna Pope. She is the executive director of Heart to Heart Adoptions. So Donna has actually founded 4 adoption related podcasts. And so she's going to be, I think, pretty comfortable. Once again.
I think so. I know.
And she's going to be joining us to discuss how best to support birth mothers and how to navigate the adoption process while creating relationships built on trust, transparency, and hope.
Right. And then a huge adoption related topic, infertility, and how many families pursue adoption after receiving the news that they might not be able to have biological children and how that looks. How do families navigate those emotions? How do they ensure that they've processed their grief and are ready to open their hearts and their minds to another way of growing their family? And we are hoping to be joined by 1, possibly 2 counselors to speak on that issue. And then I will share a little bit more about like my personal journey with that as well.
And then another huge adoption related topic are substance exposures. What can you do to prepare yourself for parenting a child who maybe will have possibly lifelong complications from those prenatal exposures? And then what are some practical risk factors that weigh into considering those kinds of cases when you're reviewing case files?
And then another one that is kind of adjacent to that is how to read the case file. So we talk a lot about you receive a case and you can read it and then you can say yes or no. And what does that look like? Especially in the private domestic adoption world, it can be overwhelming, especially when you start reading them. And some of them, because each agency is different with what type of information they provide. Some of them, it's a page after page after page packet. Some of them, it's one page. Gives you all the pertinent information about expectant mom, all of it about expectant father, if they have the information for that, and then maybe a couple other things, and that's it. So how do you navigate through those? What should you be looking for that maybe is a red flag for you and your family for something that you're not comfortable with, and what stuff that you are comfortable with, and all of that.
And then we're hoping to have somebody join us to discuss ICWA, which we have mentioned briefly, but is the Indian Child Welfare Act. There's a lot that goes along with that. And when you are reading a case file, it's an additional concern that needs to be taken into account when deciding whether or not to present to that case. Lots of case files will tell you right off the bat that you can't present unless you live in such state, such area. But there are others that leave it slightly more open-ended. So we'll talk about how to navigate that decision as well.
Yes, and so then we are hoping to share even more stories related to foster care, international adoption.
Yeah, because we've focused primarily on private, because that's what we've walked through. This season we had one foster care story and we had one international adoption story,
we had two foster cares. Well, 1.5, I guess.
1.5, yes.
Yeah,
1.5.
Katie shared a little bit, but that's not how they eventually. But
correct.
So like we're opening to more avenues because we're wanting to learn about them, whether it's how we grow our family again in the future or not. But we know that that is a need just to be discussed for the adoption world, period. So that's everything that we either have for sure lined up or are hoping to have lined up and recorded for season 2. And that sounds like a lot. I feel like that's all season 2 right there, maybe.
that was a pretty good spread there.
It sure is. So
and I can think of more we have that we don't have here just because we haven't maybe confirmed the guest for sure yet. But yeah, we're not having trouble running out of topics apparently.
No, so we were a little concerned about that. Like we still do want to talk about like the legislative side.
Yes.
But
we're gearing up for that.
Yeah, that's something that we have to look at because like for our state, that's state specific. So we kind of have to look at that. And then I don't know, do we want to talk about ICPC more and like the ins and outs of that for all the states? I don't know. We also had this lofty thought at one point in time that we need to talk to somebody from each state that's maybe in like the legal department to hear about how each state is different. And right there would be 50 episodes.
We're just going to panel discussion with 50 people and line up all of their schedules. Easy peasy. Because we found that to be very easy with our panel, right?
And our own personal schedules. So yeah,
just lining up our 2 schedules.
So that's all things to come, whether it's in season 2, season 3. We'll see how far this goes. And then our own personal adoption journeys as well, sprinkled in throughout. So
sounds good. Well, audience, what about you? What subjects related to adoption interest you or confuse you, concern you? Or maybe you have an amazing story you'd like to share. We referenced Stephanie, who's going to be joining us in season 2, a different Stephanie, and how she had reached out to us. And that was awesome. We really appreciated that. She was super encouraging to us, and you're going to love her story as well. So maybe you have something you want to share. You could always leave a comment on where you're listening to podcasts, and most of the apps have a way to do that. But if they don't, or you want to go into maybe some more detail you don't want to share, like on a public platform, you can reach out to us via our podcast email, which is just adoptionsidebyside@gmail.com. And yeah, we look forward to hearing from you. We look forward really to any feedback. I mean, please be kind because we are amateurs, but we welcome constructive criticism as well. But please let us know what topics you would be interested in hearing about, because even it may be something we've never thought of or has come up in our own adoption journeys, but we'd be excited to learn about it too. So let us know.
So that wraps up season 1, kind of in a nutshell, and then gets you ready for what's going to happen in season 2. And I can say I am, and we didn't I didn't say this back then, but I am surprised that we made it this far. Not because I didn't think we could do it. Just I wasn't sure that there was always going to be the topics for it.
Yeah.
But
when we talk about the most surprising or interesting things we learned, just in like not the adoption world, but something I'm reminded of through many life experiences, but this included, when you ask people for help, they're often willing to give it. So
we talked about that with the husbands.
And I'm so thankful we've had so many people be willing to come on and share from their perspective. So that's been huge.
It has been.
How many episodes did Alex say we had to make it past before we broke the statistic?
Oh,
it was a small
I think
number.
It was 10. Was it 5? And then it was 10. And then we're going to be at 20. This is our 20th episode, right? Because we have 15 out and then 5 to come.
I believe this will be 21.
Okay, so we've broken that record too. I will have to look into what the actual statistics are for being at this point. But I'm also surprised at how much growing we've done. We're on video now. We're on TikTok now. Maybe when this comes out, we're doing better on TikTok than what I'm doing currently.
I think you're doing just fine on TikTok.
But like we're growing, and like I say to my mom group at church, because we're trying to grow, even if we're only reaching one person, that's one person more than we reached yesterday.
That's right.
So,
all right. Well,
good job, friend.
Season 1. Yay. And my hand's wet from touching.
It's okay.
Okay. So, well, let's do what we always do, which is close in prayer.
Yes.
God, I am so thankful that you brought Stephanie and I together for all these seasons of life. First, through growing our families through adoption, through becoming new parents, through raising adopted children, and for doing podcasts together. And I am so thankful for all you have provided for us in terms of resources, in terms of people who've just been willing to share their hearts and their passions with us. And I thank you for letting us have this space to do that in. And I just pray today for those listening that whatever stage they are at, in whatever side of the adoption world they find themselves, I pray you will be what they need today. Whether they need encouragement, whether they need healing, whether they need growth, confidence, please meet them where they are at in their own leg of the journey. And just pray you give us a great summer break, which is funny to talk about in March, but so I record ahead. Help us to enjoy that time with our families and bring us back together for another great season. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Thank you for joining us for today's episode. You can find us on all major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, and YouTube.
You can also find us at Adoption Side by Side on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube video for more adoption content and to follow along in our own personal